Hello and welcome to The Portrait Guy with me, Guy Lloyd. This is a podcast recorded in front of a live audience when me and a very special guest will paint each other's portrait. About halfway through the podcast, we'll do a self-portrait. And at the end of the year, we'll auction those off to charity. Tonight's very special guest is comedian and actor Isy Suttie. Welcome, Isy.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing the podcast. You're barefoot.
Yeah.
Do you always do art in barefoot, or is it about being on stage, or is it just being closer to nature?
No, it's like a new me. I've just I went and got my nails done this afternoon, so I feel like I need to show them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
not that anyone can really see them.
Well, in the restaurant, we noticed that you'd missed. There's one missing, isn't there?
No, that's on my hands.
On the fingernail.
That's just come off.
But you did you had a pedicure or just your toenails done?
The toenails was today and the manicure was about 2 weeks ago. But one of them's fallen off, the middle finger on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that in the restaurant. I didn't want to make a big deal of it, but
yeah. My friend Nick didn't. It disturbed him.
Didn't it? Yeah. Can I have a look at your feet?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. A nice colour.
Thank you.
Pink?
Yeah, I think it's like a peach.
Peachy
but
pink.
I feel like taking my shoes off because I'm about to paint or draw feels like a thing that people do.
Yeah, quite an earthy thing to do, isn't it? How are you at art? Are you did you like it at school? I'm guessing that you're quite arty.
Yeah, I did like it at school. I did GCSE ceramics. My friend Hannah's here, who I was at school with. She didn't do it. I did it. There weren't many of us it wasn't very popular.
Right.
But I did GCSE ceramics, and I don't think many schools offer that.
No.
But did anyone here do it? No.
Is it still going? We've got two young people in the audience.
I did it.
What drew you to ceramics?
I think I was really not good at painting and drawing.
Yeah.
And we got detention once, and me and my friend who were doing detention, this is one of the worst things I've ever done, actually, morally, ethically. All the GCSE artwork was up, about to be judged, and we were like, oh, this is shit. We could do better than this. We were doing ceramics. We definitely couldn't have done better than them. But we painted over loads of the pictures.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah. So it was one of Stephen King's It, which is, and we painted red crosses on its eyes.
That's evil.
I know. And then a cotton reel. Do you remember at school everyone draws massive ears of wheat and massive cotton reels? It must be to do with shading. It's learning how to. And we reshaded a cotton reel, and that did look better. So we did someone a favour.
Added to some, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my attitude towards. I was a bit like, they're mainstream, man.
Okay.
So I'm a potter.
Yeah. You're like a maverick of the art world back then.
Yeah. And I made a 3-dimensional Weetabix box. So I was quite creative with it. I didn't just make pots. We had a mincing machine in the art classroom.
Mincing machine?
Yeah, to make mince that you eat, mint. I don't know why it was there.
Why was it in there?
I don't know. I've never questioned that.
Strayed from the cookery class?
Yeah, maybe. And I made a 3-dimensional Weetabix box. So all the letters came
in your
out,
ceramics?
And then the bowl came right out. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I put the Weetabix itself through the mincing machine, so it went
great.
wavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. And then I was going out with a guy called Thomas, and I gave him so many I gave him the Weetabix box, and I really regret that.
You should have kept it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't give any artwork. This is a good piece of advice, I think, to anyone you're going out with, unless you're sure you're going to be with them forever.
Yeah.
Because if you split up, they're not going to give you it back, are they?
No, they're not. Oh, that feels like a loss, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what did you get in your GCSE ceramics? Can you remember?
B.
B?
Yeah.
Very good. I think that deserves a round of applause. That was forced and lame. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to paint each other's portrait. You can see behind you, we've got some self-portraits from previous guests, Paul Hartnell from Orbital, Gail Porter, and fellow comedian Nick Helm, and then I've put one of my portraits on there, which I think is one of the worst paintings, although you're the first person that's complimented it, of Gail Porter, which is just very pink, I like to think it's abstract. I got the wrong eye colour. She's got green eyes, but you quite like it. Do you think
I think it's very jolly. It's fun. It's a fun. Yeah.
Like Gail herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met Gail a very, very long time ago and I liked her a lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was doing stand-up and I met her backstage at the Comedy Store.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think I wouldn't say it necessarily looks like her.
No, you wouldn't be able to.
But that's okay. That's an artist's impression.
That's my interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do to kick off the art part of this podcast is I'm going to ask you to pick a medium of art out of this envelope, if you could. And then that'll decide whether we do acrylic pen, which we did in the last podcast with Nick, which he loves so much that he said he's going to go home and buy some.
Did he?
We've got crayon, pencil, and charcoal. So, Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's exciting. We need a drum roll on this, Chloe, when you put the edit together.
Okay. Like I'm drawing a raffle at a children's
What do we got?
party.
What do we got?
Pencil.
Oh, I'm happy with that. I like pencil.
Are you an experienced artist?
Well, I'm not showing off anything, but I got A-level art. It was a long time ago because I'm older than you. So I did an A-level in, I think it was 88. Because we come from the same neck of the woods, don't we, the East Midlands?
We do, yeah, we do.
So I wasn't born in Nottingham, but I was sort of raised in Lincolnshire, Nottinghamshire. You're from Matlock, Derbyshire. So yes, I went to a comprehensive school, Tuxford Comprehensive School, and I was rubbish at everything apart from art. And I'm vegan now, but at the time, I got that A-level art by gutting a fish, which is pretty gruesome, and drawing it, and that's what got me through, a gutted fish.
Wow. What did you do with it after you'd drawn it?
Probably, I don't know, my mum probably, I mean, it was the 80s, my mum probably cooked it.
Yeah.
And we ate it.
Good.
Anything went, in the East Midlands in the 80s.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
But why, if you don't mind me asking, did you decide to do a podcast about art? Like, is it just something you've always wanted to do more of? And
so I've had all this equipment in my drawers at home for years. I get inspired and I think I'm going to do some art, and I'll go to an art shop and I'll buy some stuff and then I just put it away.
That's what I do. I do one thing and I'm like, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And then I just watch Netflix for years. And so we were downstairs thinking, I don't even know how I got your email. I've got your email on my phone, but basically when I was doing commercial radio, I interviewed a lot of famous people and I kept, all the contacts because I thought that'd be handy one day. So we were chatting about, let's do a podcast with all these people I've got on my phone. And there's a lot of podcasts. You've done a lot yourself. We had to put a bit of a twist on it. So a friend of mine that works here said, why don't we, bring an element of art and paint each other or draw each other? And I was immediately, that sounds great. Because one, I can use all this equipment and do a bit of art.
You can claim it back now on your tax.
I can claim it back on tax. My accountant is really happy with that. But also, I found it very relaxing, and this is a bit of a trade secret I'm giving away here, so I don't know if I should tell Izzy, but I find it's a bit like when you're.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Go on, say it.
I'm concentrating on something else,
yes.
So you get better answers out of me.
Exactly. Now that you've said that, that's not going to happen.
Or I'll give really stilted answers, and then it'll just be all coloured in blue.
But it's a bit like. It's a bit like when you've got to have, like, I'm a dad, so it's a bit like when you're having a difficult conversation, say, with my son. They often say, like, it's good to go for a walk or be in the car or something like that. So you're doing something else and the focus is on something else and you're side by side perhaps.
Yeah.
So you can have a chat. So they're slightly sort of distracted or disarmed.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think when I'm learning lines, I do it while I'm doing something else.
Oh, okay.
Like recite them and that makes them go in better.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never tried that. So what would you do alongside learning lines, like typically?
And like wash up or do the dishwasher or like nothing, like something quite mindless.
Okay.
But so that you're doing two things at the same time, I think it does help. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I might try that. So I put some pencils there.
I've got them.
Oh, you got them. You're in there already.
Yes.
You're going to make a start.
Oh, are these all for me, or have I got to share them?
What have you got there? I don't even know what you've got. Have you got pencils?
They're coloured
there?
pencils.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go just like, like.
Like, okay, can I take
pencil.
one of those and use the colours, or is that?
Yeah, why not, Izzy?
Okay,
I'm in a good mood. Go on, do what you like. So going back to we thought it'd be good to kind of paint and draw, and I think also it's genuinely I've really enjoyed just kind of doing art again. It's quite relaxing.
It's great,
and I need to do more. It's very good for me. You know, when I think about how much I always get you get your notifications of how long you've been on your phone. So I'm doing 4 or 5 hours on my phone of like seeing how many likes I've got, or seeing what some random celebrity's up to. And it's like, why did I use that time to do art? To do something nourishing? You know, we were talking about that in the restaurant, that you're fed up with your phone, or you're trying to spend less time.
Is it all right to start, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't get me started on phones. Genuinely, that's a different podcast. But I absolutely detest smartphones, and I don't go on mine very much now.
Because you don't do social media, do you?
No, I haven't got any social media. I have to keep my Twitter because of work stuff, in case I ever have to tweet about stuff, but I don't use it, and it's enhanced my life, I have to say. It's not the same for everyone, I guess, but I feel like generally it's I don't want to do a kind of the good old 90s. You're right, you do. I am thinking about drawing, and I don't want to do that thing that I think that you can go, oh, it was easier before when everyone went to the shop and got sausages and all that stuff. Nobody filmed, and I'm always aware of not doing that, but I do think that it's a lot harder for like younger people now than it was for us.
Yeah, we were sort of reminiscing a bit. Your friend Nick has been in Brighton a bit longer than me, but we're reminiscing about the old days in Brighton, pre-phones, and it does feel like but I guess that's something that old people do say, isn't it? But it does feel like...
It does. That's true, but it doesn't mean it's not right. It's just a bit... You have to just think about it a little bit more. I think make sure you aren't just...
But it does feel like... I personally do feel lucky that I lived in that time, and that I was able to fall out of clubs and do terrible things, and no one took photos or filmed it, and just that general feeling of feeling a bit more free. And
we didn't really think about it, did we?
No, exactly.
Can you remember your first phone? Like what it was?
It was a little Nokia thing, tiny. I had it for years. I mean, I've got an iPhone now, iPhone 7. So I think it's probably the oldest iPhone in Brighton. It's like it's so old. It's like it's packing up, and I just refused. I know Apple want me to get the 16, but I'm being really stubborn about not.
I'm like that. Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
I don't know what mine is. And if they ask me in the shop, like, what is it? I go, I just look at it. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. But I'm actually a bit childish about it, I think.
In what way?
I don't want to know. I don't want to progress with technology. I don't want to. Okay. So, like, I think I've got a bit of willful refusal to engage. Yeah. So I probably make things a bit harder for myself at times when I could. I don't mean that I'm like queuing up to buy my train ticket at a booth for an hour. But
I'm disappointed.
And I know, but I think there are certain things I probably. I never know what's happening, so I haven't got any social media. Sort of go, oh my God, Zoe's had a baby, and they're like, yeah, the baby's 5 now. You're obviously not good enough mates for them.
I mean, that's the thing, I guess, because people say, they'll get FOMO if they're not up to date with what's going on. But I mean, if you look at Instagram and Facebook, it's nonsense, isn't it? Most of it. And I try to, we're talking in the restaurant about what's going on in the world, in America in particular. And for me, much like you avoiding social media, I'm just not looking at the news, really, because it's just so awful, really, most of the time. So
you can't, I suppose, there are certain things you can't do anything about. I suppose, like Trump, I guess, at the moment, like, unless you were going to go to America and, like, even then, you wouldn't. So if you don't like Trump, sometimes it can be hard to read that stuff because you're like, I can't. I've just realised that I think it's easier for me not to look at my phone much because I'm married and because I'm not at a time in my life where I'm like wanting to meet people or wanting to go out a lot, or so I have got that luxury of like, I don't know, like a lot of the time my friends will try and reach me by texting my husband. So I mean, so he's like a sort of a servant in terms of, so I do sort of give it like phones are terrible and I don't look at mine. It's like, well, sometimes I don't have to look at it because and then he gets really pissed off with like, why aren't you looking at your phone? So it's not simple. But.
Well, you see, when I found out that you weren't on social media, I was kind of jealous and admired that because I feel very hooked in with it. But I also thought, well, it's no point in texting you. You're not going to see it. But you've been very good.
Oh yeah, I'm on text. I'm very. I try not to idly
quickly.
Look at it.
Yeah.
So if I get a text, I often respond to it immediately because I'm like,
you do
it and then put the phone down.
Yeah.
Like I don't like feeling there's loads of untied, open-ended conversations, and that used to be a feeling I used to get when I looked at like Facebook. It'd be like, oh, I've got to ring that person, but I won't do it now. Or just you want to just sort of lightly look at things, but you don't really do anything, and it leaves me the unfinished feeling that I don't like.
Okay. I mean, you've got 2 young kids, haven't you?
Yeah. Sorry, that was really yeah.
So defensive.
I felt like we were. It was like you were like a policeman, and I was a big, yeah.
But that's when I became a parent, I think phones were just sort of taking off, and I have definitely had some regrets around. I tried to do my job at the time was I was working on a breakfast show, so I had the luxury at the time, and I knew it at the time. And I was quite lucky that I did the school run in the afternoon, which was lovely. But I got very distracted. I'd be with my boy and we'd go and play football or something, family orientated. And I'd get very distracted by the phone. So yeah. I guess that's the other thing, isn't it? As a parent, you don't really want to miss those moments staring at Instagram.
No, it's hard. I do really try. I put it in a drawer, put it in the tea towel drawer. If it's not there, I find it easier. If you don't see it. Like, you look around the kitchen, you're looking for a spatula or something and you see it and you're like, oh, and before you know it, you've been on it for 10 minutes. So I try and put it away. But it's hard. Everyone's got their own. I mean, I know that, and I'm not saying that I don't look at Vinted and go down a Vinted hole. And I've kind of swapped social media for Vinted.
Right.
And often things arrive from Vinted, like 6 things. I can't even remember ordering them. So I'm by no means got it sorted. But I know that I feel a lot better looking at it less. Yeah. You're just trying to mitigate it, aren't you?
But with Vinted, is that got an addictive?
Yes, it's all just the algorithms, isn't it? There's a For You button.
Yeah,
people might know it. And I look at the For You and I'm like, it's like it knows me.
Yeah,
it fucking doesn't. It's just looked at what I've bought. And
yeah, exactly.
Yesterday when I looked at For You, yeah, I do dream sometimes of like going and living in a place where no one has a phone. But I think quite a lot about societies who still don't have phones, or like I suppose there are religions where they wouldn't have smartphones. And, but I don't know. It's unrealistic, really. Yeah, it's like how many school WhatsApp groups are there? If I didn't have a phone, again, it would be Ellis just telling me take the PE kit. You can't do it on your own, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's great. It's quite refreshing that you're not on social media and you're trying to go against the grain, because it only feels like it's going to go one way. So in terms of like our fascination and with it, and I say you've got to kind of take a stand, haven't you? Yeah.
Although I think like young people are like I don't know if it's just one of those Guardian articles where it's like, what next? But they were like, there's a pub where people have to put their phones away and they're playing board games and stuff. And when I think back to like my 2 mates who are here, who are like such old friends, the joyful times that we had when we were teenagers and students, because even when we were students, they weren't smartphones. I think the camera's the thing that changed things for me. Like, phones per se weren't as much of an issue as cameras, because it brings a self-consciousness that we didn't have before.
And I'm very conscious we're currently in a room full of cameras.
Yeah, but at least they're not. At least they're proper cameras, like the olden days when people knew what a camera was.
Let's talk about the olden days.
Okay.
Not that old, but just you growing up in Matlock, Derbyshire.
Oh yeah, it was the olden days, I suppose.
I was interested in. It's funny because when I hear the accent, because I always think like the East Midlands accent is quite dull and mundane, but as soon as I hear it, I get quite excited because I think, oh, that's definitely like Midlands. And when I hadn't picked, or maybe I'd picked up on it before when I saw you on the telly, but it was the first time we chatted. I was like, oh, it was really coming through.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I only had. I mean, you were sort of born there and raised there.
I was born in Hull, actually.
Oh, okay.
I was born in Hull, actually, and then I moved to Hertfordshire when I was 2. And then I moved to Matlock when I was 6.
Oh, okay.
So when I moved to Matlock, I had a real Cockney accent.
Oh, really?
But I suppose when I was first exposed to language, it was Hull.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a bit which is Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hull. So, I mean, similar. I was born in New Zealand, but came over here when I was 18. But I was sort of raised in Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire, and that's where my accent is from. Coming down south and even living in Australia for 5 years hasn't really. It's still quite mundane, isn't it? Would you agree? Anyway, what I was going to ask was,
You've got a very nice accent.
Thanks. When I was in Newark, I was living in Newark, but I think that was a really pivotal time for me in terms of. It's when I first started going out. It's when I first discovered pubs, like first relationships, things like that. It was like a pivotal time. But I was thinking about you and your career. You're very funny, and I put down my own sort of sense of humour of being around the people that I was hanging out with at that time. It was quite a unique sense of humour in that part of the world. Do you think, like growing up in even Hull or Derbyshire, shaped your sense of humour at all? Have you just sort of?
I certainly think, like Matlock is quite, like there were definitely, probably more weirdos there per square kilometre than I'd say, like maybe Luton, or I'm trying to think of a sort of place that I think of as more sensible. Like it was quite a bohemian place. It was quite a creative place, and our school was very encouraging of like being creative and songwriting and stuff, which is kind of one of the things I did from a very young age. So like they were very good like that. So in that sense, yeah, I think so. I think there's a certain temperament to the East Midlands people. I think they're friendly and I don't think you can see it quite when you are one, which I consider myself to be. But yeah, I think so. I think it was good coming from a small town in terms of my writing, because I felt like I was I sort of, there was a guy, down the road that you always said hello to, who walked in a particular way, or, all those sort of nooks and crannies of a community that you see more if you're living in a smaller area. Then I think if I'd grown up in a city, my writing probably would have been different.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Even if those same sorts of people had lived there. So it's like how you experience your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when did you get the performance bug, do you think?
I don't know. Like I genuinely always just wanted to do it. It wasn't something that felt like a choice. I just, from the age of like, I can't remember a time I didn't want to write and perform. So I think I have a lucky in that sense that I never worried about what I wanted to do when I was older. I had complete conviction.
Really?
Yeah, it was never in doubt.
Was it in the family at all?
My mum's a piano teacher and a church organist. Like she's very musical, but she does. So I suppose she does perform a bit. But sorry, your mouth. I don't know. It was going really well, and then I'm being punished for something by God or some higher being, and I can't rub it out. I can't rub it out.
No,
you've got to go with it. I'm
equally disappointed with myself because I think I'm trying to get You've got great eyes.
Thanks, man.
Stunning eyes.
Thank you.
But it's not transferred to paper.
It's all right.
That well. In fact, the whole face hasn't transferred that well.
You now look like a photo fit where they've run out of time to find the right mouth and they've just put... Okay. Oh, well, que sera. Sorry, what were you...
We were talking about performing, weren't we?
Yeah. So, I just always wanted to do it. And also, I just didn't doubt I would ever do it. Not in a kind of arrogant way, I hope. And I don't think it ever was. I just felt sure I would find a way of doing it.
Yeah.
And that I would write as well as perform. Yeah.
Can you remember the first thing you wrote?
I wrote a sketch when I was really young about... It was about tennis balls, someone who'd stolen loads of tennis balls, and we'd recorded it on a tape recorder, and I was playing all the different parts, and there was a judge asking, did you do it? And there's like a Cockney guy. And no, I didn't steal the tennis balls, that kind of thing. I was probably about, I don't know, maybe about 10, because you used to record everything on a tape recorder then, didn't you?
Yeah.
So,
I did my first radio show on a tape recorder.
Did you?
Yeah.
So did you have real songs on there as well? And you did like
I recorded...
Coming Up Next? Like
yeah. I did like I'd have the record, my mum and dad's record player, and then a tape recorder. So I'd play I'd play ELO, for instance, and then I'd record it, and then I asked my mate to pretend to be Dutch. This Dutch footballer at the time called Arnold Muren, and he pretended to be Dutch, and I pretended to interview him. That's my earliest memory of doing radio.
That's cool. How old were you?
Guessing 10, something like that.
Yeah. And then did you always know that you wanted to?
No, I went off a completely different direction and then came back to radio 30 years later. But it was like, when I look back, I think, oh yeah, I was really into that.
Yeah.
And I should have, I guess I got, you get a bit, it sounded like you had a very firm idea, whereas by the time I got to sixth form, I was a bit lost. Yeah. And I landed on hairdressing. I went to hairdressing college and qualified as a hairdresser. You've
done a lot of things.
I've done a lot of things. Yeah. It's a good life experience to try different things. But it took me a lot longer to follow my passion, which was also performance.
Yeah.
But you knew from quite early. The other thing I found out about you, I want to confirm, or you can deny, is it true that you at school, it sounded like you were quite creative at school, is it true that you started a dating agency at school?
Well, yeah, sort of. That tied in with the songwriting thing. So
okay. What was that? So what did...
Well, I wrote it, so it was always a way of me publicising my songs. So I suppose it was a bit like someone starting a gym, but so they could advertise fizzy drinks, and that was, you know what I mean? So it was called Isy and Joe's Dating Agency, and me and my friend Joe Gibbs did it, and that so the idea was that I would write a bespoke song for any boy that anyone fancied, and then
what a great idea.
Deliver them the song, or I'd teach it to the person, and I'd play guitar and they'd sing it, and then we'd record it and give it to them. But it was niche,
Yeah,
it was niche.
No, so how old were you when you did that?
Well, I started playing the guitar when I was probably 11. So I was probably a little bit, I was probably 12.
Wow.
Yeah, I was quite boy mad from a very young age. I was very into.
But it's very, it's quite a clever way of self-promotion.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't see it like that. I was like, I'm doing everyone a favour. I'm providing this service. But then no one really did it apart from... So then Joe and I had to do it in order to demonstrate what it was. Yeah. And we fancied these two best friends called Sam and Jack, who lived in Bonsall. And so we did... And it was that thing, I don't know if you had this when you were young. At first I fancied Sam and she fancied Jack, and then we swapped.
Yeah. Do you know why you swapped? Was it just like
I think like we didn't get anywhere with the respect.
And then you gave up.
And we just said,
switch. Yeah. Try the other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a school thing to
I know.
To do.
I think it was very important then, wasn't it? To if you had a best friend, it really helped if you fancied two people who were best friends.
Yes.
Because it was always about and then we can go on this double date to the fair, or
exactly.
It made more sense.
And it takes the pressure of that one-to-one.
Yeah, it does actually.
Early dating thing.
Yeah.
And angst.
Yeah.
God, that brings back some memories.
Yeah.
So when did you get into, because you as you say, you were playing guitar and stuff, but when did you get interested in stand-up?
I graduated from drama school in 2000, and then I started watching a lot of comedy because I lived in East Dulwich near a pub that had a lot of brilliant comedy on it every Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And we just used to go down because it was like Thursdays was really cheap and have a beer and watch. And I got really interested in how so often they'd have the same acts on the Friday and Saturday. And I'd go on both nights and watch how they slightly change their jokes depending on the crowd. And I found it really interesting. And I was already doing comedy songs that I wrote that I started at college. So, and Nick was in the very first one about a kettle. Nick, my friend Nick, he's in the audience. So I was a kettle, and he was a man who'd lost his kettle.
Obviously.
But it were
tried and tested formula.
Yeah, exactly. the halcyon days before phones. Now it would be I've lost my phone. But yeah, it was when you did it in we did it in a songwriting competition, and I did a song about like the perfect guy and stuff, and and then I was watching stand-up but doing these songs, and I was doing the songs on the gay circuit because I won a competition in a gay pub in Tottenham Hale. Just went along and did the competition because it was in the stage, and had a lot of gay friends who came down to support me, and it was a real laugh. So I ended up doing the gay circuit for a bit, and then just sort of started doing open mic nights in the West End and stuff like that. And so I kind of, stand-up was never in the overall plan when I was young. I wanted to act and I wanted to write scripts, really, I suppose. So
what excited you about stand-up? I mean, it sounds like you had an early sense of the craft, or you got very interested in the craft.
No, I got interested in the craft because I think when you go and watch stand-up, if you go and watch it as a punter, firstly, I couldn't believe they did the same material every night, and now that seems very obvious. It seemed very obvious. I was like, yes, of course they do. They've got jokes that are 20 minutes long. They can't. And I think some people get a bit disappointed sometimes if they go, I don't know if you've done this, but like if you go and see someone twice and you're like, they're doing this bit again. And so, I became very interested in the sort of mathematics of it, I guess, and like why things worked in particular rooms and why they didn't. But it took me a long time to merge the songs into stand-up. I was sort of doing the songs separately at music nights and sort of cabaret-ish nights, and then doing these open mic comedy nights where I wouldn't do the songs, and then it took years to sort of merge the two. And it took me a really long time to get okay at it. Like it takes most comics probably 6 or 7 years really to figure out, because at the beginning you just can't believe people are laughing, and you've got really no sense of what you want to say. You're aiming for times all the time. You've got your 5 minutes, then you get your 7 minutes, then you get your 10 minutes, then you get your first paid 10, which is such a big deal. So all the time you're like, you can't do too many things at once. You're just aiming to increase your set time. And I think it's only really once you get to, you've got a good 20 minutes that you do in the clubs, and I think then you start then to think, actually, do I want to say something rather than just thinking about what can be funny?
So when you talk about that 6 to 7 year period, average period, say, is there a lot of that finding out who you are on stage, or developing some kind of on-stage persona?
I wouldn't think of it like an on-stage persona. I suppose it's more, I suppose it feels like you just have to do it to find out who, I suppose it's who you are on stage. It's like you sort of, I suppose, amplify a certain aspect of yourself and diminish others. But you can't really analyse it. It's like you just have to gig to find out. And that's the difficult thing, because you just die, and that's really important. You don't want any of your mates to come in the early days. It's horrible if your mates are there. Then it goes badly, which is it's so important for it to go badly. I can't stress it enough. But then it is horrible when you come off and your mates are then like, did you enjoy it? Oh God, you just want to go. You just want to go, and your brain just wants to analyse it. You just want to be on your own.
It is fascinating because I do a bit myself, and I was listening to some of the other podcasts you did over the weekend. You were talking about the art of it, the craft of it, And it's fascinating how a comedian can be doing the same set in the same room with a slightly different audience, perhaps one night after the other. Then it could be completely different.
Yeah, and it's definitely like that in Edinburgh. Like you've got your show in Edinburgh, so that's your show for an hour. It's your space.
Yeah.
And you don't know why some days it will go brilliantly and some days it's like they're watching a play or something.
Yeah.
Like they're like Radio 4 drama.
But
And you're going, why? And the show's 7 minutes shorter because there's no laughs. I remember once I was doing my show in Edinburgh, and you knew to qualify for the Edinburgh Comedy Award, as they call it now, that used to be the Perrier, it has to be 50 minutes long. It can't qualify if it's not. And supposedly, I think it was true then, perhaps not now because there are so many more shows, the judges go and watch every single comedy show. Well, a judge will go in that first sort of bit of the festival so that they're seeing everything, you know. Because you never know, you might discover someone in a room with two people from New Zealand or something who no one's, you know what I mean, who no one's heard of, and they've come over and they've only been doing comedy in New Zealand, and then they're like the next sort of big thing. And they came, I knew they were in, and I'd had 3 bad shows in a row where it had been silent, having gone well before that, and it was the best show that I did. 3 Edinburgh shows, and it was the best one that I'd written. I knew it was watertight, and I couldn't work it out why, and I was stuck in. I was like, "What am I doing? What have I changed?" You get really inside. I was like, "What have I changed? What?" And I was like, "Right, I've got to just carry on doing it." I rang an older comic, and I was like, "She said, you just got to keep doing it in the way that you have been." And then I knew the judges were in it. And it was another one of those where no one laughed. Really, no one laughed from beginning to end. So it was 3 minutes shorter than it should have been. So it was 47 minutes. And normally it was about, it was probably about 53, 54 normally. So at the end, there were lots of songs in it. So at the end, I did the last song and I looked at my watch and there was still 3 minutes to go. And I was like, oh my God, it can't qualify if it's not 50 minutes long, even though there had been no laughs throughout the whole thing. So I just played like A minor and looked really moody and like gazed into the middle distance and then sort of tinkered around with a few. And then as soon as the watch hit 50 minutes, I was like, thank you, good night. And then, didn't get nominated.
But it... But also, I like the fact that, I like what you said about... dying. You do have to die.
You do have to die. Why is everyone scared of dying? It's the thing, isn't it, that people say if you say you're a comic, it's, I could never do it. I could never do it. Yeah, it is. It's really, really humiliating. It is. You feel very alive, which is odd because it's called dying. But it is. It is. It's really humiliating. I think it's a good test as to whether you really want to do it or not. Yeah,
because it's about getting back up, I guess. And
and you learn so much in the early days when you die. It's often something you've done. Yeah. Sometimes it isn't, but...
How are you getting on with your pictures?
I've done it. You've got no body, but...
That's all right.
I can't see... I don't know if you've got one. You just... No, I can see your shoulders, actually. I could do... Yeah, there's no body. It's fine.
So what we need to do now is take it off without the audience seeing, because we're going to do a reveal at the end.
Oh, okay.
So you're not going to get to see it until the end.
Okay. I'm just going to do a bit of blue.
Got to be really careful about this. Mine's terrible. I'm really sorry.
It's all right. I mean, I'm saying that I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's not.
It's in the sort of Gail Porter league, I'd say. So we're now going to paint ourselves. When I put this to Nick Helm, he was like, "My God, I haven't looked at myself for so long." He hadn't looked at the mirror, and he's like, he has to look in the mirror before, just to remind himself of what he looks like. So we need to choose another medium. We're going to have a different medium if you'd like to. Pick something out of the envelope in front of you, and then we'll do the self-portrait. Blimey, time is flying.
Have you got like one weird one in here, like marshmallows? Like, how did that get in there?
What for?
In here.
As in like, no, but it's a good idea
Party
for the next
poppers.
episode. Yeah.
Do it.
I like that. What have you got?
You could do it on a Christmas special.
Yes.
Paint it in snow. Okay. Crayon.
Oh, great. We haven't had crayon before. I think they're nearest you if you want to... Have we actually got crayon?
I don't know. I've got acrylic markers, charcoal, sketching pencils, and
Do you know what? Maybe we haven't even got crayon. Maybe I just made that up.
Well, okay. Another one's fallen out. Should we do? Oh no, that was crayon. Okay.
Oh, that. You know what? You just.
Oh, I used. Yeah, I broke the rules.
They were crayons. They were pastel.
So I've done a combination of. Am I the first one to break the rules?
You were a maverick at school. You're a maverick still, aren't you? In the art world.
Yeah. The crayon is the mincemeat machine. Okay.
What have we got?
Acrylic paint.
Okay. This is where it gets messy.
Oh, lovely.
I've accidentally seen my portrait.
Who has? They?
No, I did.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah.
Your own portrait?
No, the one you did of me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry.
That's fine. I was quite impressed.
Thanks.
And now he's more disappointed with mine. Here, have one of those. A palette, we call it in the art world. There's loads of colours in here. These paints actually come from my mum's neighbour who died and just left a load of art stuff for my mum, and my mum gave it to me.
Well, that's nice.
It's
what
nice,
was the neighbour's name?
Can't remember. I never met him.
Okay.
He's quite reclusive, but it's
well,
nice.
It's
nice
nice
to know
that we're using it.
Yeah, his paint lives on.
I don't know the etiquette here, so should we splodge it in and then send the vicar to the actress, and then give
some water there is if you want to do any mixing or in your palette, or you can see there's a little jar of water there, or you might just go straight into. However you want to do it, really. Have you got a paintbrush?
No. Should I add water into the paint, like to thin it?
If you want to, you might not want to.
I've never done this in my life.
So the one
I'm a potter.
Well, Paul Hartnell behind you did. That's acrylic paints, and I don't think he used any water. He just went straight in.
It's good. It's really. That's like an album cover.
It's very good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that'll do well.
Can you all see it? It's very good, isn't it?
Here are some paintbrushes there. So I give you a first choice.
Okay, thank you.
Painting etiquette. So was it, because when I was talking to Nick Helm about Edinburgh, it was quite pivotal in his career.
Yeah.
Was it the same for you?
Yes, but probably in a different way from Nick, because I think Nick's so brilliant at these sort of really kind of anarchic rock and roll live shows.
Yeah.
What happened with me in Edinburgh is that it got me a Radio 4 series, which I absolutely loved doing, and it got me sitcom auditions. So I'd been to drama school and I'd graduated. I'd sort of done bits and bobs, but things like Frog in Love and a panto that I did with Nick. It feels like my whole life revolves around Hannah and Nick. It's true, actually. But Nick and I were in Cinderella in Blackburn in 2000, straight after we graduated.
Okay.
He was Buttons and I was Cinderella, and we were doing like Wigan Bingo Hall and things like that.
Wow.
And I remember this woman coming up to us afterwards, and after the one in Wigan Bingo Hall, and saying, "You lot are all right at this. You should do it professional." Like, this is professional, darling. We're getting £100 a week.
We're getting paid for this. But I don't imagine, they must have been quite tough. Were they tough crowds up there?
Yeah, they were. I mean, I was the fairy godmother. I used to go on and get heckled by the kids. And I mean, in a way, I suppose it was a good
training.
baptism of fire for stand-up.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I suppose I'd got into stand-up, and I still wanted to do acting alongside it. I had an agent, but I wasn't getting seen for telly, really. I'd done a little bit, like here and there, a couple of lines, but not much. And then it was Edinburgh, really, that then, because loads of casting directors go up, so then that opened the doors for auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did, we've got to mention the Peep Show.
Yeah, I feel like, Speaking of auditions,
Speaking of the segue.
Sorry, is a Segway a thing that you like? They ride around on in America?
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to think of the word for it earlier. Yeah.
But also we used it in radio a lot. A segue into, you'd say something and then you'd segue into some awful competition.
Yeah.
Which we do in commercial radio quite a lot.
I quite like bad segues in radio.
Yeah.
I like it.
Quite obvious ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
let's segue into Peep Show.
Yeah.
Maybe in the edit we can make that segue even more smooth.
I want you to make it more bumpy.
Okay. So how did you get the Peep Show gig? Was that from when you were sort of doing auditions?
Yeah, I mean, it was just an audition like any other. It wasn't, you just go to them
at the time,
cross your fingers and...
It's another, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know the show very well. I knew it and I liked it, but I wasn't like... I hadn't watched every single episode and wasn't a super fan, which I think probably helped because I wasn't too intimidated about going in.
Yeah.
Whereas like I watched every episode of The In-Betweeners and sort of a super fan of that. So I think if I'd got an audition for The In-Betweeners at the time, I would have blown it because I would have been like, oh God, I really want to. Whereas with Peep Show, I thought it was great, but I just hadn't watched every episode and so it was a good position to be in, I think.
Yeah, really quite relaxed.
Yeah, I was more relaxed. I still felt like was aware that it was a big deal, I suppose. But I was, I mean, you do go up for lots of good stuff and think, I hope I get it, and you don't, and it's just if you're right, I suppose. I did get a good feeling in it. I felt I'd done my best, which is quite a rare feeling. You so often come out of an audition and you think, I wish I'd, not a massive thing perhaps, I wish I'd done that bit slightly different. But I did come out and think, and I thought I thought that's how I would do it if I got it, and that's a good. And then you can't control it, but it's a good.
Yeah, you've got to give it. Yeah, how you see the character, I guess. Did you know any of the cast before?
No, I think I'd met Rob and David a couple of times at like radio stuff, but no, not.
But they
really.
Didn't stand out from memory.
Well, they're older than me. I know that sounds weird because we're like the same age, but they're like probably 3 or 4 years older than me. And back then, that was quite a big. It was like, when you're in the 5th year, someone from the upper 6th would never. You just wouldn't sort of mix with them. Yeah. I felt with stand-up, you're sort of very much in your peer group, and although they're not stand-ups, they're sketched and writers and actors and stuff, it still felt a bit the same, I suppose. They were it was a bit like, oh, they're in the corner, and
okay. And so you got the gig, obviously.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean,
I feel like the police interview again. I didn't steal the tennis balls.
I mean, I was saying earlier, I came home last night, went out for a meal with my girlfriend, and we were both tired. We thought, we're not going to make a film. We're going to fall asleep. Let's just put the telly on. That time of night.
Yeah.
And there you were. Peep Show was on.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it?
But it's aged so well. I feel like I was properly cracking up last night.
I think it has too, actually. Like I do think that. I think there are other things that you watch and it just feels. It's not. There are some things that you watch and you feel uncomfortable. And you're like, oh God, that isn't right. And there are some things that you watch, I think, and you go, oh, it just feels old.
Yes.
Even though it's not offensive, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, I've messed up my own face. I've made you look like Brad Pitt, and I don't know what I look like.
I look really angry and I'm not an angry person.
No, I don't think you are. Like I've only met you tonight. You look like angry isn't, like if I had to describe you in 3 like adjectives, it wouldn't be angry.
Anger wouldn't be in there.
Nah, not even frustrated.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
Why do you think Peep Show was so? I know you've probably been asked this a million times. No. I don't want to. But why do you think? I mean, I was thinking about why is this show so good, and why did it resonate with so many people? My theory is we all have those sort of internal monologues going on. And with the characters, and I think that's what sort of landed with me last night. Is like, yeah, I have these conversations when I'm meeting people, and what I say out loud and what I say internally. I think that's what I loved about Peep Show personally. But I mean, why do you think it's sort of?
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I mean, I almost think I'm not a good person to judge it because I'm too close to the flame, as it were. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
But I think you're right. I think it's just also the writing is just so good. Like, I just think they're really good writers, Sam and Jesse, who created it, and I think that sounds a bit of a kind of obvious thing to say, but I think that's the first thing. I just think there's no filler in it. I just think it's. I think also like a lot of people know a Jez or Mark or feel that they are either a Jez or Mark, and also they were really good mates, I suppose. But,
yes.
You know, we did follow a traditional sitcom format in that sense.
Yeah.
They always ended up together.
Yeah.
They were better apart, but they couldn't be apart. You know, in that sense, it's the same as Steptoe and Son or like lots of other sitcoms that you wouldn't necessarily put alongside it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was kind of pivotal, I think.
Yeah. And, you know, there are just such great characters on it. Matt King lives in Brighton.
He lives in Brighton.
Yeah, you should see if he'll do this podcast.
I've invited him twice to the podcast.
What did he say?
He hasn't even replied.
Oh.
Are you still in touch with Matt? Can you put a word in
A
for
bit,
me?
but I think he seems to go on and off Twitter. So
we're supposedly friends on Facebook, but he's...
Well, it shows what social media means.
It does. It goes back to our earlier point. We're not friends. He's ghosted me twice. Matt, if you're listening, get in touch.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, no, he looks... I mean, his character was great, but I mean, I've seen him around Brighton with his kids, and he looks like a lovely chap. Maybe he's just not into podcasts.
I don't know. Yeah, he might not. It won't be anything to do with you. He might just not. Yeah. You know, he's not been doing stand up for a while. I don't think, unless he's gone back to it. So it might not be quite what.
Some people don't want to do the podcast because they just don't like doing art. They hate doing art. Some people have jumped at it because they're like, "Oh, that sounds wonderful." Like Paul from Orbital was like, "I get a lot of requests, but I really like this idea." So
that was what made me want to do it. It was like really different. Yeah.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I thought it was art and a specific like art therapy kind of thing, but it doesn't feel like that. I hope it doesn't feel like that to you. Yeah. Like I don't know why I thought that, but it's great.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Very good idea.
It's been nice to have you on. How are you getting on with the self-portrait?
I mean, I think it looks human.
Okay. That's a start.
I can't. I mean, my eyes. So my eyes are. Have you heard of this colour? Scottish mix. Have you heard of that colour?
No.
So my dad. I don't know if my dad made it up as a colour, but he always used to say my eyes were Scottish mix.
Right.
Because I'm half Scottish, and it's like. Blue, green, and grey and brown all mixed together, but not in that way that it would look if you mixed all those paints together, like a bit of each kind of thing. But I've just done them. I've mixed black and blue together, so they're the colour of like a bruise.
Bruised coloured eyes.
Bruise, yeah. She had the best bruise coloured eyes. Not bruises on her eyes, bruise coloured.
We're talking about again another question you get a lot, I'm sure. But we're on the way back from the. On the way here, back from the restaurant, we were talking about Peep Show reunion. I guess you get asked that a lot. There was talk a long time ago about a film. I guess that didn't come off. Would you be up for a reunion, or do you think these things are best left?
Of course, my friend. Of course. I mean, I just think it's the best writing. But then I do a film of like most like. White's thing that I did that I absolutely loved doing that only ran for one series that was about chefs with Alan Davies and Darren Boyd. I'd do a film of that. I'd do a film of Dreaming Whilst Black, a thing that I was in a couple of years ago. I'd do like there aren't actually that many things I've done that I wouldn't do a film of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why leaning
I
towards...
don't know if I'd do a film of Cinderella at Wigan Bingo Hall.
Why a particular interest in the film,
yeah.
do you think? I mean, that's just a nice way to sort of round things up, or just take it in a different direction?
Yeah, but I just can't. I mean, I think what happens is the boat sails and it's so hard to get people together, and Olivia Colman's in. She'd have to be in it. It wouldn't be the same without her. So then you've got to start scheduling, and then by the time, I just think, I don't know, it feels unlikely to me.
Yeah.
It just feels like there has to be so much willing, and Sam and Jessie would just have to really want to do it, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'd do it.
Yeah.
But I just think we're all getting older. You know, I'm 46. They're probably around 50. I mean, it's fine. But if you've got two flatmates living together who are in their 30s, it's just a little bit different from two men in, say, who are 63. You know, and like still one of them taking loads of drugs and wanting to be a DJ. It just feels different.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I get that. Although you are working with Robert again, aren't you, on this?
Yeah, we're in this CBBC thing. Yeah,
which I watched an episode of.
Did you?
Part of my research.
Yeah, your son's is he 22? Your son?
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to see 10-year-olds play basketball now.
No, not particularly. Yeah. High Hoops. So you're about to do another series?
We're doing another series, yeah, and it's filmed in Halifax. We live in Hebden Bridge, and I love Hebden. I love it. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
It's ace. And it's nice. I mean, it's nice. I feel like I know him better now than I did when we were doing Peep Show, because there's only 3 adults in it, me, him and Nigel Boyle, who was in Line of Duty. So we all know each other really well, and we hang out. We were all up north, so we hang out together a bit. And when we were filming Peep Show, we just used to get in the car and go home, you know, didn't go out or anything.
Yeah. So you stay there, you're on location for a few weeks sort of thing, are you?
Yeah, we'll stay in Hebden and then film it in Halifax.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's ace.
That's nice. It's
a very nice middle-aged telly job.
Yeah.
And I've got my knitting and I've got my little flat there. And that's when I bought some sort of acrylic type pens and then like drew like a picture of a bride in a like 50s wedding dress, and I was like, and that was when we got married last year. So when I was filming, it was coming up to the wedding, and I was like, yeah, like that's really cool. And then I just never drew anything again. Like, but I love it. I love it in Hebden, and it's a nice show.
Yeah. Do your kids watch it?
Yeah, my kids watch it. Yeah.
What do they think?
They like it, but they're a bit like, oh, you know. And actually, my 6-year-old does impressions of me, and where he does my accent, which is really lovely because they've got London accents. So, yeah, he acts out sort of scenes and does like, oh, I love that and stuff in his little 6-year-old voice. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, you mentioned you got married.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Was that last year?
I've done it again. Yeah. I'm taken, Guy.
And you married another comedian?
Yeah. He's not a comedian anymore. He's abroad. Do you know what he did on our? Actually, no, he does it in Welsh. But on our when we registered our daughter's name, he put broadcaster. They said, "What's your profession?" He said, "Broadcaster." And then he walked around the back of the guy's computer behind his desk in the office and checked that he'd written broadcaster in the box. It's really, really changed.
Hasn't
changed.
It? Yeah. But you met doing stand-up.
Yeah, we met doing stand-up, and he does still do stand-up in Welsh.
He's a writer. He's a football pundit, would you say? He's into
what
football,
is he?
He's into football.
He's into football. He's managed to turn his passion for football into a money-making scheme. Yeah, into a job. And I suppose all jobs are money-making schemes, really, aren't they? But his job has changed over the years. Like when we met, we were both comics primarily. Yeah, I was doing acting, and I'd done Peep Show by then, and I'd done some other stuff. But he was doing lots of comedy and a few panel shows. And his life his career's completely changed since podcasting. He's he really is a broadcaster.
Yeah. I like the way that he double-checked that, though.
Yes, it was very odd with his hands behind his back. He sort of strolled.
It's like it's broadcast is like quite a status, isn't it? It's got just sort of like a.
Yes, it was. I don't know why he thought he wouldn't write it. It was like he didn't believe that he'd write it, or he wanted to.
But when you were, I guess when you were doing more comedy, would you test material out on each other, or is it like a very separate thing? Is that the worst possible thing you can do?
Well, it's more that you'd go, do you think this will work in a very serious way?
Yeah.
Like we hardly ever talk about work with each other.
That's good.
And we don't watch or listen to or read really anything that the other one does. So I've written 2 books. He hasn't read either of them.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't watched his Welsh special, even though there are English subtitles on it. I don't think he's listened to my Radio 4 series. Like, we don't... and that's actually the case with, like, say, Josie Long and Bridget Christie and Daniel Kitson and Tim Key are probably my closest friends who are comics. We never, ever talk about work. We just take the piss out of each other and have a laugh. It's weird. You never go, what are you up to at the moment? And it's the same with me and Elle, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we'll sometimes go, I've got this idea, do you think this will work? But it'll be more of a technical thing rather than trying stuff out and being like, oh, actually, I suppose if we're having a laugh, sometimes you go, you should use that. But it's not often.
Yeah. That sounds quite healthy.
Yeah, I think it is healthy.
Really?
I think what would be hard is if one of us religiously watched everything the other one did and the other one was like, sorry, I'm going to the gym. I'm not watching your thing. Yeah.
How are you getting on with your self-portrait, Izzy?
I've done the top bit of the balayage, but not the bottom yet. Were you asking because we need to?
We're coming towards the end.
Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get this
just,
mid-yellow and just...
I've gone quite minimalist, I think, because I went for that style last time after the Gail Porter debacle.
I think it's really nice that you're not like a professional artist, because I think if you were doing this and you were like,
that would be,
like it was Grace and Perry, like the other person would be so intimidated.
Well, it would just be an opportunity to show my art off, which would feel wrong, wouldn't it?
I suppose so, yeah, but like alongside a poor, humble amateur. Yeah. Okay.
How are you doing? Because we're going to do a little reveal now.
Yeah.
Should we do our portraits first?
Sure.
Show the audience. I'll let you do the reveal to the audience. Okay. So this is Izzy is showing a picture of me. So we'll do that.
Nick's dropped his phone.
Nick's dropped his phone.
In terror, the picture.
That's mine. Oh. It's the reaction of the audience.
I like that. I think I look like my cousin, Jenny.
I don't think I've grabbed any of your prettiness. I tried to get the eyes.
Nah, it's great. Also, I've started doing curly girl method. I'm not going to go into it now, but it's really important that I'm seen as someone with curly hair.
Okay.
And I am, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I worked on the curls. As a hairdresser, I kind of go. I usually start with the hair and work backwards. But I think it's the eyes are key. Okay, and then self-portrait.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Should we do it at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll let you go first because I think
it's funny for you because you do this every time. You do.
And I've done something very similar to last time, although I look angry. This one, but you could just leave it on the pad. Leave it on the pad. That's fine. And let it dry because we're going to get you to sign that. Oh, that's good. I like that.
Thanks.
I really like that. That's
yeah. I do look like Medusa.
But I think that captures your personality.
Oh my God, sorry. Do you think there's some like a bar called Medusa, but Medusa, where they make juice? And if there isn't, someone should start one in Brighton.
I feel like we had a Medusa bar in Brighton, didn't we?
But spelt like juice, like orange juice.
But,
okay, fine.
Oh, there's me. Do you like that? They got a good response.
This is what I think, right? I don't think it looks particularly like you, but I think it looks like someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if you told me that was man's name was like Robert pillory or something, I would go like, that must look like exactly like him.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Thank you.
It's the colour. Do you think? Yeah, the colour is lovely, that red.
Got that red. I think because of the lighting on stage as well, it really brings out. I haven't put a beard on there, have I? Yeah. I was getting immersed in the conversation. Again, I can get immersed in the art and then I can get immersed in conversation. I think I tailed off at the end and just immersed in the conversation. Izzy, it's been so lovely spending time with you. Thanks for doing the podcast.
It's been really lovely spending time with you too.
We had a lovely meal. We've had a lovely bit of art, a lovely chat. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, let's give it up for Isy Suttie. Thank you to our sponsors, Dental Health Spa, Indian Summer Restaurant, number 124 Guest House Hotel, and the Grand Hotel.